The other day, I finally sat down, right? Not because everything was finished, though. Nothing was finished. In fact, there were emails that I could answer. One of my inboxes had, yeah, like maybe 10,000. Another one had about 2,000. I won't keep going because I have multiple email addresses. But there were things that I could organize. I looked around my office and I was like, okay, yeah, there's a stack of mail. Yep. Things I could organize. Something in the house that needed my attention. Yeah, like the dinner that needed to be made. Mhm. Business ideas moving around in my head to the point where I couldn't even stop my thinking. And probably three things that I had already forgotten. And you already know that my youngest son, he reminds me of all of the things that I forgot, right? But you know what? I sat down anyway. And almost immediately, instead of feeling relieved, I felt guilty. Maybe you know that feeling. Maybe, just maybe. It's when your body finally stops, but your mind keeps standing over you with a clipboard. Like, girl, you should be doing something. You haven't earned this yet. There's still way too much left to do. Y'all don't know what I'm talking about, though. It's when you can rest when everything is handled. So I reached for my phone. Right? Not because I needed it, but because sitting still made me a little bit uncomfortable, y'all. And I caught myself and I thought, Ashley, girl, why does stopping feel like you're doing something wrong? Why can't you simply just be, tired? Why does rest have to be justified, explained, earned? Nah. And that question, it kind of stayed with me. It really did. Because I know I'm not the only woman who has learned to treat rest like a prize that she receives after proving she has done enough. You see, the problem is, though, when you are the person who everyone else leans on, there's always, and I'm talking about always, y'all, going to be something else that you could be doing. Which means that if rest has to be earned by finishing everything, girl, you may never believe that you really deserve it. Come sit with me, y'all. Come on and sit with me. Welcome back to Healing, Hustle, and Home, all right? I'm Ashley Springs, educator, mentor, full-time founder, sports mom, and a woman who is just learning in real time how to lead more than one room without disappearing inside of either one of them. I just want to be myself, y'all. That's it. And last week, we opened up this new season, and I'm so excited about it because this is a season about being everything that we are, right? So we open up this new season talking about the cost of being the one that everybody else leans on. We talked about what happens when you become so skilled at noticing what everybody else needs that you slowly stop noticing yourself. And if you remember, I left you with one question. And if you weren't here last week, go back and listen to last week's episode because you need to hear that in order to get this. Anyway, that one question that I left y'all with, it was something like, what part of your life has been quietly waiting for your attention? And I hope you answered that. I hope you reflected on it. I hope you thought about it a little bit. I did. It's me, myself, right? I am waiting on me and my attention. So for some of you, the answer you came up with might have been your finances. Some of you might have been your relationships, your health, your sense of purpose. Where are the purpose people here? But I have a feeling that for many of you, the honest answer was even more simple, right? You're tired. And I'm not just talking about sleepy either. I'm talking about, I'm not even talking about I had a long week tired. I'm talking about you are tired of always being on. You're tired of anticipating. You're tired of deciding. You're tired of being the one who remembers everything, tired of having your mind in 3 different rooms at the same time. Because I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. And if y'all not tired, I'm tired for y'all. And some of y'all are tired and you're just not saying that you're tired, okay? So we got to be honest. And even after naming that truth, some of us, y'all, we still struggle to give ourselves permission to even stop or even slow down. So today we need to talk about rest. And I'm not talking about the luxury rest. I'm not talking about just going on vacation and dropping everything and leaving it behind. I'm not talking about a perfect spa day that costs you several $100s. Nah, I'm not talking about disappearing for a weekend while someone else handles your whole life. I'm really talking about the kind of rest that keeps you connected to yourself, the kind that helps you return to your responsibilities without resenting every person who needs you, the kind of rest, y'all, that can happen in real life because we can't just stop and drop everything. We got to have the kind of reset that we can use on a daily basis, even when our calendar is full, because rest is not a reward for finishing your life. It is a maintenance for living it. All right. So, look, I really don't think that most of us consciously decided that rest had to be earned. We didn't. We didn't say, okay, I got to do X, Y, and Z. I got to do it for a certain amount of hours. I got to stay on this for, this many weeks and then I can rest. No, that's not how it happened. Like nobody literally sat us down and said, from now on, you are only to stop after you have exhausted yourself, girl. Nah, that ain't how it worked. We really learned it in small ways. We learned it by watching. And who were we watching? The people around us. We watched our parents do it. We watched our grandparents. We watched our sisters and brothers. We even watched our employers. Like we literally watched the people around us do this. And so we learned it. Yeah, my son will tell me that too. I learned it from you, Mom. That attitude I got it from you. Okay, so these behaviors that we got, these things that we do, we learn it from somewhere, right? We just don't know where until we sit back and reflect. And we don't stay there and get stuck. We reflect and we get better from it. So, anyway, and we don't blame others either. We learn from it and we get better. We learn it in smaller ways. We learned it by watching. And we also learned it through, guess this word right here. We learned it through this. We learned it through praise. Yep. We learned it through environments that rewarded us for pushing through. And what do you mean by that? Right? Some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of us grew up watching women who never sat down. And honestly, I was guilty for doing some of that too, even in my own house at some point until I started saying, nah, I ain't doing that. I'm taking a break. Y'all do it. No. Right. Anyway, we grew up watching women who never sat down, women who never said no, women who just kept going and going and going like they were the Energizer Bunny. They worked, they cooked, they cleaned, they served, they showed up. All right. And I'm not knocking them. That's what they chose to do. Okay. And even when they were tired, they kept moving because that was simply what had to be done. And maybe the women that you admired were known for being strong, dependable, selfless, right? The ones who made a way. I absolutely love my mother. I love my family because they made a way out of no way, okay? They were selfless and they made a way. And there's something so beautiful in that legacy. I will never take that from any of them. I come from women who knew how to make things happen and they still know how to make things happen to this day. And I love that for them and I love that for me, right? But y'all, But, and it's a great big but, sometimes, along with their strength, we inherited their inability to stop without guilt. We learned that the good woman is the useful woman. Y'all don't hear me. We learned that the reliable woman, the woman who sacrifices, the woman who makes sure everyone else is okay before she considers herself. Come on, y'all. Then we carry that belief into our professional lives. Oh my goodness. I'm saying something here though, especially those of us who worked in schools, who are working in service-based careers, who work in leadership, caregiving, ministry, or any space where the needs are endless. Oh, listen, in education, there is always another student, another family, another data point, another meeting, another plan to revise, another crisis, another person who needs something before tomorrow. All right. You can give everything you have to a school building and still leave knowing there was one more that could have been done. That kind of work can train you to believe that stopping means you do not care enough. And that's not true. Leadership, y'all, leadership can do the same thing. No matter where you're leading, it can do the same thing. Being a caregiver, it can do the same thing. Being in ministry, it can do the same thing. Just being a giver can do the same thing. When people um when people depend on you, when people depend on your decisions, rest can feel irresponsible sometimes just because of who you are and the type of role that you carry. When you run a business, every single quiet moment can start to look like a missed opportunity. You could be following up. You could be creating content. You could be sending a proposal. Oh, I could be improving a website. My to-do list is so long. I really need to be applying for that grant, you know? I could be learning another system. You know, this could be helping me get better. And motherhood, don't even get me started. Because being a mom, that is just like a never-ending learning experience. It's very rewarding though, right? Motherhood, it has its own list that never fully closes. And I love it, right? But let me tell y'all a little something. Let me see if you can relate to any of this, okay? Motherhood, the dishes return. Oh my goodness. If I walk in that kitchen and there's dishes in my sink one more time, I done went off on these kids 3 times in the same day over these dishes. Y'all don't understand what I'm talking about. The laundry returns. The questions return. The questions. Mom, can we? Mom, what's for? Mom, can I? Mom, 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 mom. Okay. Whew. All right. The practices, the games, the appointments, the meals, just going to the grocery store, the forms that we need to complete for each one of them. And I'm not just talking about it, woo, I have more than one. The transportation, the emotions, and every single one of our children are different. And as a mom, we have to adapt to meet the emotions and demands of each one of our children. And we have to become an expert of that, right? And conversations keep coming. And we love every single moment of it. And it's our job to give and adapt and accommodate every single one of their differences. So what we do is we start making agreements with ourselves though. After I finish this, I'll rest. After the kids get settled, I'll rest. After this launch, I'll rest. After this school year, I'll rest. After I reach this goal, I'll rest. After I catch up, I'll rest. After I check this off my list, I'll rest. After we get back from, I'll rest. After I catch up, I'll rest. Girl, but catch up to what? What are you trying to catch up to? A life that keeps moving? Because guess what? The last time I checked, there will always be another responsibility. I checked 3 things off my to-do list yesterday, and 5 things went back on it before I could even blink my eye. There will always be something that you could improve, okay? And there will always be one more thing. Always. And when rest depends on completion, rest becomes nearly impossible. So, girl, you better sit down and get your rest. I don't care what is done and what is not. I don't care who needs something and who does not. You deserve rest regardless of what is done and what is not. All right. Y'all better hear me. Y'all better hear me because I'm saying this to you and I'm learning this at the same time myself. Because here's what I've been realizing about myself. Sometimes, y'all, I do not keep moving because everything is urgent. Nope. Even though I like to, prioritize my to-do list. Oh, this is a high priority. This one's a low priority. This was a medium priority. I can do, this one's due next week. This one's due next month. This one's due tomorrow. Anyway, here's what I keep realizing about myself. Sometimes I don't keep moving just because everything is urgent, right? Sometimes I keep moving because being productive feels safer than sitting still. Ah, we just have to keep going. We gotta be doing something. We gotta be moving. It feels safer. So when I'm producing, when I'm doing something, when I'm moving, I know who I am. I'm capable. I'm useful. I'm responsible. I'm making progress. But when I stop, I have to feel what all that movement was helping me avoid. Like how tired I really am. Like how uncertain I really feel. Like how much has really changed. And y'all, so much has really, really changed in my life. It's really overwhelming, to be honest. Like how heavy a particular decision was for me. Like how disappointed I may be at certain things or with certain people or even with myself. I have to be still and it causes me to think about how much I have been carrying without saying it out loud. Rest creates enough quiet for the truth to catch up with us. And that, y'all, it can be uncomfortable. And I have learned over the years that that is exactly why some of us avoid stillness, why some of us avoid rest. And we'll blame it on because we have so much to do, because we're so busy. Nope. It's because we're avoiding ourselves. We're avoiding the uncomfortableness of sitting with ourselves, especially when you have spent years being the strong one, someone everybody depends on. Sometimes we call it discipline. Sometimes we call it ambition. Sometimes we call it doing what has to be done. Call it whatever you want. But underneath of it, we may be afraid that if we stop, everything will fall apart or that we will. Y'all, let me say that one more time because that just did something. Sometimes we call it discipline. Sometimes we call it ambition. Sometimes we call it, I'm just doing what has to be done. But underneath of all of it, the roots, y'all, the roots of it all is that we might be afraid that if we stop, everything will fall apart or that we will fall apart. So let me say this gently. Let me sip some of my coffee. Let me say this gently, right? Y'all, stopping, it does not make us irresponsible at all. And needing rest, it does not make you ungrateful for your life. It does not mean that you are not built for the work. It does not mean that you are failing the people that you love. It means that you have a body. It means that you are human. It means that you have limits. You have emotions. You are a person, not an emergency response system. And the people who depend on you do not need you available every second. They need you well enough to remain present over time. Okay? Think about anything valuable that you expect to last. Think about it. Okay, I want you to think about something valuable that you have right now because I can think about a few things valuable that I have right now. My first one is my car because sis been driving since she's been about 15, 16 years old. And what I want to do is be able to go out to my driveway and get in my car when I need to get into it. Okay? The other thing I think about is my phone. I want to be able to get on my phone and get in touch with my children, with my parents, with my sisters if I need to, or to be able to call 911 if I need to, or to get on the internet. Okay. Anyway, think about anything valuable that you expect to last. That's the key, that you expect to last. So your car, it needs maintenance. Your home, it needs maintenance. Last week when it was 100-something degrees, my air conditioning needed maintenance. My home, I had to clean it in order to make it look good, smell good, feel good. It needed maintenance. The technology you use needs updates. The systems in a school or a business need to be reviewed. We understand that maintenance actually prevents breakdown. Yes, maintenance prevents breakdown. But when it comes to ourselves, we wait until something is already wrong. Why don't we take ourselves to the doctor regularly? Why don't we take rest breaks regularly? Why don't we go to bed on time and keep a rhythm regularly? Why is my question. We wait until something is already wrong. We rest when our body forces us to. We pause after we snap at someone. And I'm famous for that. When I am guilty as charged, we pause after we snap at someone. We reconsider our schedule once we can no longer keep up with it. We ask for help after we are resentful that nobody offered. Wow. We treat rest like an emergency intervention instead of regular maintenance. And then we wonder why one afternoon off does not fix us. There's a reason why our jobs give us vacation days, sick days, and all those other days. They actually want us to take them, not just bank them, right? It's not an emergency intervention. It's preventative. One afternoon off is not going to fix us. Take the whole day. Take the whole week. And in fact, take a long weekend every single month. You cannot recover from months of emotional neglect with one nap. Now, I love a nap. I just took me one, maybe twice this week. Anyway, I love me a nap. And I used to not take them. But naps are like so good for the soul. But sometimes what we call rest is only unconsciousness. Your body was still, your mind never stopped. That's me. So what you do is you woke up thinking about the same 5 things that you were thinking about before you ever closed your eyes. And if you're like me, sometimes I'm still thinking about those things in my sleep, so I never truly fall asleep. Anyway, so your mind never stopped. Those same things are on your mind. And real rest is not only about sleep. Y'all don't hear me. It's really about creating moments when you are not performing, when you're not producing, when you're not solving anything, when you're not anticipating, or when you're not carrying. So yes, that might be physical rest, right? But it's also mental rest. It's emotional rest. It's decision rest. I'm like, I do not want to make a decision. Like, leave me alone. Here's a big one. Social rest, necessary. And y'all, guess what? Even spiritual rest. Sometimes you do not need another hour in bed. No, that's not the only rest that you need. You need 20 minutes when nobody asks you a question. Sometimes you need to stop consuming information. Ooh, that was a big one for me. Girl, you done learned everything. Now you need to do something with it. Sometimes you need to just write everything down that your mind is holding so that it does not have to keep replaying it over and over. Oh, here's a big one. Sometimes, y'all, you just need to tell the truth to somebody safe, okay? Just get it off your brain. Just say what you need to say. Now, the truth ain't for everybody, okay? Now, sometimes you need to say what's on your mind to somebody to get it off because they don't work your nerves. But sometimes you just need to tell the truth to someone who is a safe space, right? Not to tell anybody off, but just to tell the truth to a safe person, have a conversation, all right? Sometimes you need to just sit in your car without turning that quiet moment into another phone call. I do that. Yes, I will. Sometimes you need to make one decision in advance so you don't have to keep deciding it every day. And that's exactly why I created my tool called What's for Dinner. It's an AI tool that I use to help me plan dinners out for the whole week, sometimes 2 weeks. So I only need to do that one time because I get so overwhelmed with trying to figure out what's for dinner or for my kids asking me what's for dinner. So I created an AI tool to help me figure out what's for dinner one time in advance and help me with the grocery list so I don't have to keep deciding it every day. And if you want that tool, it is on my website. Just go on my website, definingmyway.com, and look for what's for dinner, okay? Listen, rest should not meet the part of you that is actually tired. That's where many of us miss it, certainly. We need rest, right? We say we need rest, but we do not identify what kind of rest that we need because there's so many different kinds. So we scroll, we watch TV, we lie down, but guess what? We still remain mentally crowded because we didn't access the right kind of rest. And then we get up and we say, I rested, but I still feel tired. Have y'all ever said any of that? Of course you do. Because your body sat down, the rest of you never did. Yep. Anyway, let me give you one concrete practice today. This is not a complete life overhaul. It will not require you to clear an entire day. It is something that you can use when you notice yourself just kind of moving too fast to hear yourself even think, okay? And I call it just a 10-minute room reset, real quick. You can just call it a 10-minute reset, whatever you want to call it. But it just has 3 parts, right? Close the room, check the woman, choose the return. Close the room, check the woman, choose the return. Let me walk you through it. So close the room, first part. So for the first few minutes, make it like 3 minutes. Stop feeding the room that has been demanding your attention. Just stop. So if you're working on your laptop, close the laptop, right? Put the phone down. Step away from step away from the email. Leave the dishes where they are. Sit in the parked car before walking into the next responsibility. You are not abandoning the room. You are temporarily closing it. Like, let me just stop this right in its tracks. Just like close it off. Let me stop it. You can say stop the room if you want to, but you're doing that temporarily. This matters because many of us are trying to reset while we're still receiving more input. We can't. That's not a true reset. Your phone doesn't reset while it's still on. It has to be completely off. We put on a podcast while answering emails and call it a reset. or rest. No. We scroll while watching TV and call it a rest. No. We sit down while mentally reorganizing tomorrow and call it a rest. No. Your mind can't fully exhale while the door is still open and more responsibilities are walking in. So for 3 minutes, just close the room completely. Close the room, not forever, just long enough to stop adding more. All right, real simple. Promise me that. Promise yourself that. It's for you, not for me. It's for you. The second part is check the woman, all right? Check in with yourself. How are you doing? Okay? For the next 4 minutes, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. What am I feeling? Or how am I feeling? What am I carrying? Or what is this? And what do I need before I continue? What am I feeling? Or how am I feeling? What am I carrying? And what do I need before I continue? And don't be trying to give a pretty answer either. Don't be like, oh, I'm fine. Not that I just need to get this done. Don't nobody want to hear that. That's not true. Tell the truth. Be like, I feel irritated. I'm anxious. I'm frustrated. I'm scattered. I'm disappointed. Get it out. I'm tired of making decisions. I feel like everybody needs something. That is the true how I'm feeling, okay? And then ask, what am I carrying? Maybe it is not only today's work. Maybe you are carrying a conversation from yesterday, a financial concern, a decision that you have not made, a fear about your child. Those stick with me every day. A professional disappointment like I have, right? An expectation maybe that you never agreed to, but you've been trying to meet anyway. Just put a name on the thing that you are carrying, that you feel right now in that moment. You don't have to solve it during this rest, but you're simply letting your mind know that you see it. All right. And then ask yourself, what do I need before I continue on to the next thing, before I continue my day? What do I need? Not what would make the entire week perfect. What do you need before the next room? Do I need water, food, silence, fresh air, to write something down, to send one honest message, to move a non-essential task to tomorrow, to ask someone else to handle something? Do I need to cry? Yes. Sometimes the need is small. Do I need to close my eyes? Whatever it is, small needs ignored long enough become big reaction. Trust me. And then part 3 is just choose your return. For those final 3 minutes, I want you to decide how you're going back. Notice I said decide because you get to make the decision how you're showing up to the next place. Don't let it decide for you. Decide, decide, decide. Not whether you're going back. Most of us have responsibilities we simply cannot abandon. Like we have children waiting for us. We have to go back to our jobs because we have bills to pay or we leave those buildings and they're depending on us, right? But most of us, the goal is to return differently. So ask yourself, what is the one thing that matters next? Not everything, one thing, y'all. Maybe the next thing is finishing an important email. Maybe it's walking into your house and being mentally present for dinner. Maybe it's taking a shower and going to bed instead of starting another task. That's okay. Maybe it's asking your team to clarify a deadline or an ask. Maybe it's just admitting that something does not need to happen today. That's been a big one for me recently because I will have my list so long and I'm like, you know what? All of this doesn't need to happen today. Only this does. And this final step really keeps the reset from becoming avoidance. Because the truth is you're not really escaping your life. You are choosing how you re-enter it. So close the room, check the woman, choose the return. 10 minutes. That's the practice. So let's make this practical. So at work, this might look like closing your office door between your meetings. You put down your phone. You ask yourself why you're carrying the tension from your last conversation. Simple. You realize that you need 3 quiet minutes before you start leading the next group you're about to lead. And then you choose the one outcome that matters to you in the next meeting. All right? Very simple. At home, what does this look like? It might look like you sitting in the driveway before you go inside that house, girl. Not because you don't want to be with your family, you love them, but because you want to actually arrive, right? In a good mood. You take a breath. You want to acknowledge that the workday drained you. So you decide that before anyone asks you what's for dinner, you need 5 minutes to change your clothes and transition into being a mom. And for a business owner, what do you need? It might look like you ending the workday, even though the work is not finished, because it will never stop. So you're going to write down tomorrow's first priority so your brain does not have to hold it in all night long. And then you're going to close your laptop and walk away. All right. So for a mom, it might look like you telling your children, I need 10 quiet minutes. And then I can listen to you better. Because all of y'all in front of me right now is not going to work. That is not selfish. That is emotionally responsible. You are teaching the people around you that caring for yourself is part of how you care for them. That's it. So what if 10 minutes is not enough? And let me be honest, because you like 10 minutes, that ain't enough. I need 20, I need 30, I need 40. Okay, cool. Because sometimes 10 minutes will not be enough. The 10-minute room reset is not meant to help you tolerate a life that is structurally unstable. It's not a cute strategy for surviving situations that require real change. I'm going to keep it real. Sometimes that check-in will reveal that you need more than a pause, girl. You need a boundary. Yes. And for that, I want you to go on my website and I want you to invest in the Peace Protector. It's a workbook that's going to teach you and help you work through how to set boundaries in every area of your life. You need the Peace Protector. Okay? You might need a conversation. You might need a day off. You might need a whole revised schedule. You might need professional help. You might need a whole different system. You might need support from your family, support from your team. You might even need a responsibility removed, right? Not simply managed more effectively or more efficiently. You've got to figure out what you need because a reset is not always the solution. It's just going to help you get through it temporarily. But it takes you getting honest with yourself and naming exactly what you need. Sometimes it's just about how you become clear enough to recognize the solution. And that is why noticing matters. When you never stop, every problem feels like something you just need to push through. But when you pause long enough, y'all, you hear yourself and you might start to realize that this is not a hard day. This is a pattern. This is not something I need to become stronger for. This is something that needs to change. And that's what rest gives you. Rest gives you access to information that constant motion hides. You can't see it. You become blind to it. I want to go back to the belief that we started with, the belief that rest must be earned, y'all. And I want to ask, what would happen if instead you began to see rest as part of your responsibility, not something you do after being responsible, part of being responsible. Because the woman your family depends on needs maintenance, just like your car, your phone, your home. The woman leading every team needs recovery. The woman building a business needs space to think. The woman who needs to make decisions, she needs moments where she's not deciding anything. Yes. You would never tell someone that you love that she must completely exhaust herself before she deserves care. So why is that the standard that you keep setting for yourself? And I know there are real seasons when rest is difficult. There are newborn seasons, caregiving seasons. There's launch seasons. I'm even in a launch season myself right now. There's school year seasons, financial seasons, emergency seasons. There are times when life will require more of you. Absolutely. This conversation is not about pretending that none of that even exists, right? It's even going to be demanding season. You are allowed to acknowledge your humanity, though. You're allowed to need support. You're allowed to close one room before walking into the next. You're allowed to say, I cannot keep giving from this version of myself. Not at this capacity, right? It's not a weakness, it's wisdom. That's the W word that we need to focus on, is wisdom. Rest does not make you less committed. It helps you protect what you committed to. So here's a little line I want you to carry with you this week. I do not have to earn rest that helps me remain well. Say it again. I do not have to earn the rest that helps me remain well. You do not have to finish everything first. You do not need everyone's permission. In fact, you don't need anyone's permission except for yours. You do not need to reach the edge of yourself. You don't need to blow up. Rest is not a reward, y'all, for how much you survived. It's a maintenance for the woman who is doing the living. So before we close, I want you to think about this. What usually stops you from resting? Is it the amount of work or the guilt that you feel when you stop doing it? Those are not always the same problem. And this week, when you notice yourself moving from one room to another without ever checking in with yourself, I want you to practice that 10-minute room reset. I want you to close the room. I want you to check the woman. I want you to choose the return. Do not wait until you're at your breaking point. Don't do that. I want you to practice noticing sooner. If this conversation meant you where you are, this is exactly the work we are continuing inside the Becoming House, y'all. The reset room. Perfect timing, right? It was created for the woman who knows she needs to pause, but does not know how to. It's not about abandoning your responsibilities. It's about learning how to care for the woman carrying them. Inside, we are going deeper with practical, real-life reset tools, honest conversation, honest reflection, and support from women who understand what it means to lead a full life. You do not have to figure out your reset alone. You can join us through the link in today's show notes. The reset room, y'all, it is exactly where this conversation picks back up. And next week, we are widening this conversation even more, because there's another kind of exhaustion that we often do not name. And that's the exhaustion of being the person leading the room, the one expected to remain calm, to make the decision, to support everyone else, and somehow keep your own emotions out of the way. You're not even allowed to feel anything, to respond, to act. We are talking about what overwhelm looks like when you are the leader, and why leadership exhaustion can hide in plain sight right before our eyes. So follow the podcast and meet me back here next week. And thank you for sitting here with me today. I know we went kind of long today, longer than I usually do, but I want you to remember, you do not have to choose between the room you live in and the room you lead. But you do need moments where you step out of both long enough to hear yourself again. One woman, two rooms, one life. Keep healing, keep building with purpose, and keep leading every room you have been entrusted with. But this week, please remember to close the door sometimes. The work will still be there, and you deserve to be there too. I'll see you here next week.